welcome along to the Make It Count podcast. My name is David.
My name is Matt.
And we are the Taylor Bros.
Making it count every week.
Every single week and day and second. Oh, not this again.
Oh, dear.
2 episodes in a row. What could we say about that? So, we're so original, Matt.
We are original.
Oh, wait, no, we just self-plagiarised.
Oh, dear. But the good news is we're back with a book review.
Yeah, we hear you like the book reviews. So, we're talking about a book I've read that Matt hasn't read, and it's called The Unoriginal Guide to Originality.
It's got quite a striking cover, isn't it? A guy's face is covered in.
Yeah. And the what's the subheading, is it?
The subheading, yeah. Subtitle.
How to be authentic in an over-influenced world.
Ooh.
Isn't that what we all want? We want to be original
Authentic.
and authentic.
But in an what was it?
Over-influenced world.
That was it, yes.
Yeah.
Down with influencers. Boo.
Yeah. So, Zach Ramelan, I don't know how to say his name.
I think that's Ramelan.
Exactly. Yeah, Ramelan. He sort of does some movie stuff. He's up and coming, I would say. I don't even think he's done a full feature film. Done lots of, but he's very creative. He's worked with big projects and small projects and released films that most of us won't have heard of.
Sure. You could say he's a bit of a creative.
He likes that word. He likes being a creative. So Dan and Susie, if you're listening to this, you'd appreciate this book and his way of viewing things. He basically starts off, suggestion, nothing is truly original. Yep. Even the word original comes from Latin, which is originalis, which comes from like Proto-Indian something or other, which, even that word isn't original, but nothing is truly original.
Proto-Indian?
Some other.
I didn't know the roots of Latin.
Somewhere
it just sprung out of a rock.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. The Roman went, hello, in Latin. So, yes. So, what do you think of when you think of originality?
Ooh, yeah, great question. What do I think of when I think of originality? Blank. My mind goes blank. I suppose I think of maybe someone coming up with a new idea or a novel way of using something that has been known for a while. Something, obviously Dan Potter loves to talk about originality or creativity as kind of putting two things that are normally not together and seeing what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we might even quote, and you maybe have quoted this before, but there's nothing new under the sun.
Yes.
Right, so that idea of originality is kind of how do you wrestle those ideas together. And he basically says it's really impossible to be truly original in the strictest sense of that, because we all have influences. Because even Shakespeare had influences, and we think of him as one of the creative masterpieces who created these things that every student still studies, that people still perform these plays. You might think of Alfred Hitchcock as this movie maestro who was overturning the way that film was done. But if you dug into his story a little bit more, you'd realise he had influences. He had thoughts that came to him from other places, and basically suggesting that we don't live in vacuums.
Yeah. We're
not separate from our influences. And so it's impossible to suggest that we can come up with something fully unique and original because we are influenced.
Yeah. And this actually does have an important part to play in modern life. It wasn't that long ago that there was a legal case about kind of can you copyright a chord sequence, because that's been used so many times. And so, of course, influence is all around us. It abounds.
Mm-hmm. And so he really suggests, well, this kind of came about for him because he put some videos out on YouTube, and all the comments early were, you've just ripped off this, you look like this, you're not original, do your own work.
Huh.
And he was like, well, why did that hurt so much? I'd sit there and I was sweating and I feel bad. I hadn't intentionally done that, but I was playing with these ideas and there's some imitation at play there.
Sure.
But why does that sting? If you're a creative, why does it sting to be told you're unoriginal more than anything else? And maybe we see that for ourselves. I mean, how many people are looking to try and be original in what we put out on social media or even in how we show up with our lives? That we don't want to be told we're just normal, really. We want to be a unique person. And what does that look like?
Intriguing. one of the things is a book, or actually a what do you call it? A compilation of poems that I recently bought this year from C.S. Lewis. It was his first ever published work, and it was a cycle of poems. And there's a great foreword by Karen Swan O'Prior in it, and she talks about how you can see clearly like a young mind at work, but you can really clearly see he's taking off of these different writers, different poets. But she said, but that's okay, because clearly he was picking from good sources to riff off, and he was developing his voice. And I think that's, there's a difference between just straight up copying and going, oh no, I like that, I want to make that my own, and then you become almost the common factor, or the I don't know, the crucible in which all these different influences come, and they come out in a new tune.
So you've come across this idea that he talks about somewhere else. Oh, so there's nothing original, is there? I understood the same was said about Mozart, that his early stuff, the stuff we don't truly consider his masterpieces, you could see that he was imitating and copying. But yeah, he basically, Zach in his book talks about investigating your influences. Deep dive. Don't just be like, oh, these are happening, I'm influenced, or I like this music, or I like this book, or I like this writer, or whatever. Investigate them. What was it that who are they? What was the thing you got from it? What are you exploring? And like you said, maybe you're picking 5 of these influences in your life, and you're really doing a bit more of a deep dive into them, how they influence you. And then you're choosing future influences more intentionally.
Yes.
And he basically, there's I forgot who the author is, but good artists steal, basically, or that series of books, isn't it?
Yes.
And there's so many quotes of that, and like you said, if you're doing good sources, you're leveling up almost. You're putting that in you and able to bring them together in a unique way. And I think that's kind of what he's suggesting, is that there's nothing really original because we're all influenced, but we can be that unique blend, that unique voice, and it being okay to express that and go on a journey.
Sure. And I think that, the thing that I like about this, and the word that's popping for me, is that word of intentionality. It's kind of that idea of, everyone's a philosopher. You can't choose whether you have a philosophy, but what you can choose is whether you think about it and whether you're intentional about it. And you might arrive in a different place than someone else, but you have to have a philosophy. You just do. It's the same with this. We all have influences on us, but do I actually have intention with who I'm taking in, what I'm taking in? And I really like that idea of investigate them, because of course, I'm drawn to certain authors or certain podcasters or certain musicians, but am I really kind of diving in and going, what do I respect about that person, or what really connects with me about their art or their story? And if I'm a little bit more intentional about that, might be I find a pattern, or I might go, oh, this is what really gets me, or these are the ideas that I'm really connecting with. And that then maybe allows me to express, oh, what is it that really lights my heart up, and maybe I can give to the world.
Yeah, and so 100% what you said. Choose them intentionally, but then diversify.
Yes.
Bring different things together so they can bump into each other and spark. I like the idea as well, because we are influenced, but the perspectives change, don't they? If you go for an influence from long ago, 100 or more years, everyone's like, oh, that's really good. You've stolen a really good idea. It's a tribute. But if you copy a song that was successful last week, everyone's like, that's plagiarism.
Yeah.
And so, we know that it's okay to steal good ideas, shall we say steal, but like borrow, to be influenced by them.
Yeah.
But when and how you do that, the lines can become a bit fuzzy.
That is fascinating.
Somewhere between last week and 100 years ago, there's a line. There's a line somewhere.
That is brilliant. I wonder if part of it is like, well, the guy that wrote it 100 years ago is dead, so he can't profit off his artwork anymore,
So I suppose the final thing that I got from it, he has lots of practices in here about investigating your why and your motivations, but also just exploring your views and your thoughts and your feelings around originality. Because if you are on a strong desire to be original, that can be quite a heavy burden, because it's almost unbearable to be perfect and to be uninfluenced. And so a quest to be unique and perfect is a heavy burden.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, the thing that sits there for me is, for anyone familiar with the Enneagram, I think is it type 4. Number 4 is that strong desire to like have that. I'm unique. I'm the creative most, and so there will be people that more strongly feel that. And I don't necessarily feel that often, but I think we've all felt that is it appeal or that allure to. No, you don't know me. I'm different. I'm unique. Nobody understands me. No, maybe that's just a coming of age thing. But it's okay to have influences. That's what it means to live in society. The only way you couldn't is if you were to somehow have been raised, totally in isolation.
So he does. I think it's quite a good book. He talks about this idea of being weird, but not too weird. Because too weird. Nobody buys that, right? Yeah. Ultimately, if you're creative, you still want to make some money. You want to be able to live off your creativity. If you're too weird, nobody's interested, right?
If you're too bland.
If it's too far away. Well, but it also, the flip side, actually, he says, is also we think originality sells, but the reality is unoriginal sells really well.
Interesting.
You think of Hollywood and immediately you're like, yeah, of course it sells. The latest superhero film sells really well.
Because it's the same film.
It's the same film, but actually we think originality is what people want. But oftentimes, actually, unoriginality sells really well. And it's not the person who does it first, but it's often the person who does it best.
Yes.
And so, even if we think, hey, we want to be original in whatever way that looks like, recognizing that might not be the best way to success is interesting.
It depends what you want to do as well.
Yeah. And so again, it's just this conversation because our society has a really interesting relationship with authenticity and originality at the moment, where it's so prized, but it's really difficult to find.
Yeah. So I don't know what our closing sort of maxim to you guys is.
Be intentional about what is influencing you. I think
go forth and be creative.
Many of us are creative in one way or another. Most of us are not living in a way where our creative pursuits are what our income relies on, probably, but we are all influenced in different ways. And to investigate those influences, what are the things we're reading and engaging with? That over-influenced world. I mean, social media, everyone is influencing and being influenced in that space. Are we intentional with examining how they are influencing us?
Yeah, I like that. Go a level deeper, investigate your sources, be intentional.
Well, thanks for listening to the Make It Count podcast. Hopefully this is a useful influence for you. We'd like to think so.
Yeah, as you unsubscribe from all those podcasts, just skip over this one.
Yeah, leave us on the subscribe list. All right, until next week.